Markets with David Modell.
Welcome to Looking at the Markets with David Modell. I have a very special guest today. He is Mr. Rich Munson, the CEO of Sand Spring Resources. Now, Rich Munson became the CEO and director of Sand Spring Resources back in 2009 when it acquired the Toroparo Gold Project. Mr. Munson has been active in the natural resources sector for over 35 years, and we're going to talk gold and mining today. I'm super excited about this. Rich Munson, welcome to Looking at the Markets, sir.
Thanks very much, David. Very happy to be here in these, shall we say, interesting times.
Oh, yeah. Interesting and yet potentially very profitable if we pick and choose our companies carefully, and we're going to talk about that. There's been some goings-on in the mining sector. You've got a huge merger with Newmont buying Goldcorp. This was all over the news. Now, in your estimation, why would Barrick and Rand Gold merge now, and now Newmont and Goldcorp? What are these large cap producers thinking, and is it positive for the industry?
Well, I think, I would look at, have looked extensively at what all the analysts are saying about both of those mergers. The Barrick situation is a little bit different than Newmont and Goldcorp. Barrick is getting a major step up, in their view at least, in ways to manage their African assets, which have always been a challenge for Barrick. Randgold, of course, has had some significant success in Africa as well as elsewhere. It's a very strong company. That's a lot of management change going on there. Newmont and Goldcorp, I think I would look at what the chairman of Goldcorp has been talking about for some period of time, and that's the declining production that Goldcorp has been incurring over the last few years. In fact, Ian Telfer has been a strong advocate, if you will, for the concept of peak gold. So if you look at the analysts, they're all saying that the way these companies can make substantial steps to ongoing growth in their production and replacement of declining production is by making large-scale acquisitions. Now, historically, has that worked in the mining business? Well, I'm not sure it's worked generally in a lot of sectors of the economy, the mining business in particular. I think the more wiser course, and the one that had been going on up until the fourth quarter of last year and now with this large merger, was the larger mining companies picking very selective assets, very selective companies, so that they knew they were getting a very strong asset without carrying along a lot of baggage from other, maybe weaker assets. So is it good for the industry that the majors are all getting together? I'm not sure. It remains to be seen. They're very smart people, obviously. They're very successful. But I think the rest of the mining sector is going to look a lot more carefully at how they pick mergers and pick acquisitions.
Yeah.
So it's interesting times.
Definitely interesting. A lot of opportunities there, though, I believe. I've been hearing so much about peak gold, and it's no secret that in the past decade, as Pierre Lassonde has told us, there have been no major discoveries at all, only billions of dollars wasted of shareholders' money in unsuccessful drilling. Production is supposed to get cut in half by 2024. Why is this happening?
Well, Pierre doesn't pull any punches. I'm not sure that I agree with him that there's been no major discoveries. Our Toroparo project is 10 million ounces. I think that's major. But it's been discovered for a while, and we've been working on it a while. In this last downturn especially, starting in 2013, 2014, we saw the majors cut exploration completely. That was the low-hanging fruit, if you will, for them to find a way to cut costs. And so there is no pipeline of projects sitting in the major companies' inventory at this point in time. And historically, junior companies such as SandSpring and some of the rest of our partners, compatriots, have always been the source of new discoveries. We're the ones that go out and take the greatest exploration risk. But in this downturn, there hasn't even been money for exploration available. So now the majors who are in declining production, everybody acknowledges it, have to go out and start looking for prospects. Well, it's been very well documented by several studies that from the time I declare that I have found a major discovery, I am 12 to 15 years away from beginning production. So the majors are not going to be able to explore their way out of peak production issues. They're going to have to continue to do acquisitions. And yes, there are good projects out there, projects that have been significantly de-risked, such as Toroparu here at SandSpring. So, peak gold is probably true. Gold is hard to find. All of the easy deposits that you find from surface outcrops, etc., have been, I think, a large, maybe not all discovered, but a huge proportion of those. So the exploration process to find these deposits, like the Toroparu deposit, is much more expensive, lot harder work, and take a long time, and a tremendous amount of dedication.
Yeah, absolutely. I wanted to talk about the macro environment for finance and the economy. People have become indifferent, for lack of a better word, to global debt warnings. I mean, I'm hearing all the time from listeners, from investors, okay, the system hasn't crashed yet, and it feels like it never will. There's a lot of complacency out. Yeah. Well, I hear this, and there's a lot of complacency out there. We had the worst December on record in the stock market, and the worst first 2 days in the stock market ever on record. On the other hand, this January is looking green and bullish, at least in the last couple of weeks. Have the central banks been able to engineer a comeback for the global economy, or is this just noise?
Well, I'm certainly not a graduate economist, but I have been in the business world for almost 40 years and have seen a lot of different things. And I do a lot of research, reading, and I'm in constant discussion with shareholders who are economists, et cetera, and experts in the market, such as yourself. I think the central banks have deferred a problem. I don't know that they have much ammo left in the artillery to continue the deferral. And there is so many threats to the global economy, which create extreme threats to the U.S. economy, that I for one, am worried. And I take my cue from people that are smarter than me and probably understand the whole international system better than I do. But I truly am amazed at all of the day-to-day things that we just close our ears and minds to and go on about our way saying, well, no problem here. Gee, I know my house is going to keep appreciating, and I'm just going to live as well as I am right now. I just don't agree with that.
Right. I hear you. Yeah. And so you mean this 10-year-old bull market is not just going to keep going and going forever? Imagine that. Yeah. I'm with you on that one. And that's why I'm such a big fan of precious metals as a crisis hedge, and also the mining companies, especially if you pick and choose them carefully like I do. In fact, you are the founder and CEO of a junior mining company, one of my favorites in the space right now, which is SandSpring Resources, which, by the way, people, I encourage you to visit sandspringresources.com. Tons of information there, and you can learn more about this company. If you're interested in looking at the stock on the TSX Venture Exchange, it is stock ticker symbol SSP, and on the OTC markets in the United States, it is stock ticker symbol SSPXF. But I wanted to ask you, Mr. Munson, about gold stocks. I mean, they've been under pressure, let's say, for the past 8 years. That's an understatement,
Yes.
right? There was a nice rally in 2016, but overall, it's been a brutal bear market. How can companies stay afloat for so long in this environment?
Well, it is certainly not easy, David, by any stretch. And, I think companies that have management that have skin in the game have a leg up because of the dedication that comes with protecting your own money as well as the money of your shareholders. For example, in 2015, when things were really tight, I was borrowing here in the U.S. on my home equity line of credit to fund Sandspring. Now, I loaned the money to Sandspring and, in fact, got repaid when one of our major financial partners came in and took a position. But there were many days during that period of time that I wasn't sure that we were going to be able to preserve this very unique and valuable asset that we have in Guyana, South America. Now, other companies haven't been as fortunate as we have to have, one, a good asset, and two, strong financial backing. So if you don't have the asset, you're probably not going to have the backing. And to get the asset, I think management's got to show these financial backers that I'm in it with you. I'm not just spending your money. I'm continuing to participate to the degree I can. We've taken salary cuts. I've cut just about every employee I can. During the worst times, I ended up terminating some people that have worked for me for 20 years. So it is not a pleasant situation. Even today, money is very hard to raise, and gold has been so out of favor that, it's amazing to me, again, just like this long-term bull market. But I think, as you say, smart people are looking at gold, and we're, I think, in for a run here on the gold side and in for potentially an incredible run on the silver side.
Yeah. I've seen... I've been through a lot, and so have you, and so have my viewers, through this bear market in precious metals. And yet we're finally getting not only some relief, but I believe a bottoming process. We had an amazing December and not a bad January so far. We've got gold right now at around $1,290, which was kind of unthinkable not long ago that 1,300 would be so close.
Right.
So what's it going to take for precious metals and miners, the prices in those stocks, to really break out? What's it going to take for investors to get excited about the mining space right now?
Well, if you're a value investor and looking for long-term stability, I think the key here is a stable gold price. And I think the way you've described it, we're getting some of that stability, and maybe it is going to be around the $1,300 mark. That's encouraging for companies that can bring in these, what they call all-in sustaining costs, at fairly attractive numbers. Now, if gold were to continue its march forward and we were to see, for example, $1,400 by the end of Q1, then I think investors really need to be in this market and should have been in this market from today as we go up to that 1,400. Yeah. So 1,400 is really a kind of a key breaking point in my mind to a tremendous potential for further upside.
And that would be both for precious metals and the miners, where you can get some really great leverage on the metals. I believe in owning both.
Yeah. As you say, David, if you look, if I'm making a 20% margin at $1,200 gold, and gold moves 10% to $1,320, let's say, my profit margin may double, not just move 10%. So the leverage you get from mining stocks can be tremendous.
Yeah. and it's even better if you get into it through undervalued, under the radar, and underappreciated. Those are my three unders. Undervalued, under the radar, underappreciated mining stocks, the ones that not everybody is looking at and that we're trying to bring to you through looking at the markets. Now, Sandspring, I believe Sandspring is among the best in that category. So what are the factors that make it so undervalued right now? What makes it such a bargain compared to its peers?
You know, one, we're in the country of Guyana. Now, the first years I was in business in this company, I spent a lot of time explaining to people that this is Guyana, South America, not Ghana, Africa. And so there is a little bit of uncertainty as to, one, where we're at, and two, how good a jurisdiction is that to be in? Is it a scary place? And it certainly is not. It's a former British colony, British common law, politically stable. ExxonMobil has just made a huge oil discovery offshore there. So Guyana is a very good place to be. Other than that, you know, you're right, David. We're not, and probably shame on me, we're not active in the social media. We're not out talking to folks that are generally investing and not following all of the gold stocks. And that's one of the reasons I'm so pleased to have the opportunity to talk to you. We need to do a better better job of getting our story out there. And we're doing that by broadening the way we're talking to folks. Historically, we've been press release only, which is the historic way of doing it in the mining business. In today's business world, that does not work as a good method to getting your story out. So I think we are undervalued. I think we have one of the best projects yet to be developed that's held by a junior. It's the biggest property in South America that's held by a junior company. So once we start getting better known, getting better visibility, and we've got some news flow coming, we're doing some drilling, yes, I think we have a chance to make a significant run, even if gold just stabilizes, but I don't think that's going to be the case. I think gold is going to run, and we're going to run with it.
Excellent. I believe so as well. Wanted to talk about your flagship project, the Toroparu project. What stage of development is this project in right now?
David, we have, I think, de-risked the project significantly. We did a pre-feasibility study back in 2013, and that study was strong enough to interest a company by the name of then Silver Wheaton, now it's called Wheaton Precious Metals. And they came in as a financial partner with us in late 2013, before the big downturn. But with their assistance, we've done a lot of further work, and we are ready now, sometime during this calendar quarter, to announce a revised operating plan that makes the project stronger, allows us to get into production quicker, and will, I think, gain a lot of attention. Now, that needs to be documented. It's just my belief of it, but we will have a technical report, as they call it, in the industry that supports all of these points. Then we are really fully permitted with the government of Guyana. We've spent a lot of time working in country. We have an environmental authorization. We also have what is termed in the industry these days social license. We do a lot of work in the local community. We support the schools. We participate in medical outreach programs. Yes, we're poised. And that's one of the things that our three key financial shareholder partners have really impressed on me, and I've impressed on the rest of my folks, that when the window opens and the opportunity is here to raise some additional funding and move forward, we need to be ready. So we're fortunate in that we've maintained that level of readiness and can turn this project on relatively near term.
Yeah. Again, for people who want to learn so much more about this, they can visit sandspringresources.com. I'll put a link to that website in the description below this video. Make it easier for you to click on that and go there and get the rest of the story.
Thanks,
on
David.
that. Yeah, and also if people want to check out the stock shares on the TSX Venture Exchange in Canada, stock ticker symbol SSP. In the United States, on the OTC markets, it is SSPXF. Just one more question, because I know there's something exciting going on. That is with the WPM. I know that your shareholder base is very strong. You have a streaming agreement with WPM. That's pretty unique, I would say. Now, this makes the project less risky. Would I be correct in saying that?
Correct, David. Wheaton Precious Metals is one of the three key royalty streaming companies. Pierre Lassonde runs another one of those three, but the distinction that's so important to see about Wheaton WPM is that they're the only one of these streaming companies that has a complete technical team in-house. And when they start looking at a project, they bring to bear a level of due diligence that, frankly, I had never seen in the industry before. When they came in 2013, as I said, we had a pre-feasibility study already done. Wheaton didn't. They looked at that, but they basically took all the raw data and built their own model to see if they agreed with the conclusions that we had reached in the pre-feasibility study. Their conclusion was they did agree, and that this was the best project they had looked at in a while in terms of projects held by juniors. And when Wheaton did the precious metal streaming agreement with us in 2013, we were the first junior company that Wheaton did that kind of a deal with. So we think it really affirmed to the market and really affirmed to me that my technical team had done a very good job analyzing this project. The guts of that technical team are still with me today, either by consulting contract, or I'm fortunate enough to have one of the key members of that team still with me as an employee. But that significantly de-risks the project in my view, and in the view of many people in the market. When the other two key shareholders came in, the Fiore Group and Grand Columbia, they also are very established, successful investors, miners. So with them taking positions in this company, even in they were looking for what you talked about, David, undervalued.
Right. And
unfortunately, we're significantly undervalued. But they took advantage of that because they see a very good project that has almost an assured production profile coming somewhat soon down the road. So Wheaton is key. The other two shareholders are also key, but it makes us very unique to have the three key people behind this junior company.
Yeah, it's a huge vote of confidence. And hey, you're saying that it's unfortunate that this company is undervalued, but you know what? It really is fortunate for people ready to get in, ready to make the move. The time to do it is now, not when Sandspring is in the headlines for making the big move to the upside. You got to get in early, and at least I do. Okay, so yeah. I've been speaking with Mr. Rich Munson, who's been kind enough to take the time to speak with me today and to bring these insights to you on looking at the markets. It's amazing that I get to speak to the best in the business. Mr. Rich Munson of Sandspring Resources. Is there anything else you wanted to say to my audience?
No, David. As you say, we encourage them to do the due diligence that I think is going to show them that, wow, this is quite an opportunity.
Yeah, it's a huge opportunity. Sandspringresources.com is the website to learn more information I'm getting into precious metals. I'm getting into miners. I'm picking and choosing the best of the best very carefully. I'm going to keep on bringing you these opportunities at looking at the markets. So keep checking back. Mr. Rich Munson, thank you so much for stopping by. We got to have you again on sometime soon. Thank you, sir.
I'd enjoy it. Thanks, David.